Hello, I'm Lisa Sorg, environmental investigative reporter with NC Newsline, a nonprofit newsroom based in Raleigh. I cover environmental issues statewide, including landfills and air pollution, pipelines, and of course, drinking water. One of my main goals is to provide communities with information they can use to advocate for themselves, to protect their health, and to share with others. In that spirit, I decided to create short tutorials. These will show communities how to get at the very same information I use in my work every day. Over the next 10 minutes, you'll learn how to make sense of the state's Drinking Water Watch database. This is a section on DEQ's website where you can learn about your public water system, how it's performing, if it has a history of violations, what chemicals they test for, and what they find. A quick note, Drinking Water Watch does not cover private drinking water wells. Those are under the State Health Department. And in a future tutorial, I'll show you where to find resources to keep your water and your family safe. All of the links and resources in this video will be included in a transcript on ncnewsline.com. So you can bookmark it and return to the information on demand. Now let's dig in. Here's what the main DEQ page looks like, but it's easier to just search for NC Drinking Water Watch. And here we are. A quick click will take you to the page where you can search for your water system. You can see there are several ways to search. You can type in your water system name, like Rocky Mount. Some of you might be Aqua customers, so you can look up that company as well. Or you can search by county. Let's try Jones. And you can see all the public water systems in Jones County. Now that we know how to search, let's do it. I'm going to use Pittsboro as an example. Now, Pittsboro is a small town in Chatham County, although probably not small for long because Disney wants to build a ginormous housing subdivision nearby. That means there could be even more demand on Pittsboro's water system. You'll see several abbreviations. C means community, A means active, and of course, you'll see that Pittsboro primarily serves customers in Chatham County. SW means surface water. That's the source. It's the Haw River in Pittsboro's case. Other utilities get their drinking water from groundwater, and you'll see a GW if that's the case. Okay, we are now at the Pittsboro main page. You'll see a fact sheet and a water system number. Each link has valuable information. Let's start with the fact sheet. That's a lot of information, and your eyes are glazing over already. But let's break it down. First of all, the water system contacts is self-explanatory. It's who to call if you have a problem or a question. Here you can see the number of service connections, a little over 2,000. Now that's different than the population, because more than one person often lives in a household, plus there are businesses connected to the system, and that's why that number is different. This is where the system stores its water, like in elevated tanks, and a list of methods it uses to disinfect the drinking water. Now this part is also important. A lot of cities and towns buy and sell water to one another. That's common. Here we see that Pittsboro has an agreement to buy water from Chatham Co. North. That's another water system. In turn, Chatham Co. North has a deal where they can buy water from Pittsboro. So does Chapel Ridge. That's important because if a water system has elevated levels of contaminants in its drinking water and it sells that water to another utility, well, then the contaminants go right along with it. Over the past few years, Pittsboro has had issues with 1,4-dioxane. That's a toxic compound that is a likely carcinogen. Now, it's not Pittsburgh's fault. Industry upstream discharged the compound into the Haw River and Pittsburgh's drinking water. Those situations are happening less frequently because of lawsuits filed by the Haw River Assembly and actions by state regulators. Still, if Pittsburgh happens to get a slug of 1,4-dioxane and Chapel Ridge buys the water, chances are those folks are getting the slug too. This is the sampling schedule. TCR stands for total coliform. That's bacteria, which if it's in your water, it can make you sick. And these are the other chemicals and contaminants that Pittsburgh tests for and how often. Some of these are pesticides. Some are radioactive elements. There are parts of North Carolina where radioactivity is naturally occurring in the rock, and that can make its way into the drinking water, which is why some utilities are required to test for that. And here's the violation history. Now, not every violation is major, but if there are a lot of them, even minor ones, then it's worth asking why that's happening. This column lists the years that it happened. This column lists the violation. This is the chemical or contaminant at issue. It's also known as an analyte. I'll go over a few. A public notice violation means that the utility didn't inform its customers that it incurred a violation, and that's required. TTHM is what's known as a disinfection byproduct. It stands for trihalomethanes. Pathogens such as Giardia, bacteria, viruses are often found in source water, and they can cause gastrointestinal illness. So in many cases, the water needs to be disinfected to inactivate or kill these microbes. The good news is they disinfect the water. The bad news is that sometimes these disinfectants react with naturally occurring material in the water and form disinfection byproducts. If you're exposed to high levels of these byproducts, it can increase your risk of developing bladder and colon cancers, as well as reproductive problems. Now let's talk about lead and copper in the drinking water. PB stands for lead, Cu stands for copper. Now, no amount of lead is safe in the drinking water. High levels can cause neurological damage, especially in kids whose brains are developing. That said, the EPA still allows low levels of lead in drinking water, as in 15 parts per billion. And you can see in Pittsburgh, only once did they exceed that action level. As for copper, high levels can give you stomach cramps, nausea, diarrhea, very unpleasant. Some people can suffer liver and kidney damage, though, and that's why copper is regulated in drinking water. Math. Mg/L means milligrams per liter. I often convert that to parts per million. If you see Ug/L, that means parts per billion. Before we go, there's one more public water system search I'd like to show you. Now, some of you might live in a mobile home park or know someone who does. Many of these communities have their own water systems, and they're usually on groundwater. The quality of the drinking water, though, can vary depending on, shall we say, the integrity of the mobile home park owner. Some are very diligent, some are not. Here is a partial list of mobile home parks that incurred Safe Drinking Water Act violations just in the last 3 months. A lot of these parks have out-of-town owners, like Ridgewood, which is in southern Orange County. Its New Jersey owner is actually a subsidiary of the Alden Capital Hedge Fund. And as you can see, Ridgewood has had a lot of violations, especially for monitoring. That's important because if you don't monitor for a chemical, then you don't know if it's a problem. You can see they didn't monitor for pesticides, for lead. This benzoapyrene is a likely carcinogen. So I encourage you to search for your mobile home park using Drinking Water Watch to learn what the ownership is doing or not doing to keep your water safe. So that's a brief overview of how to dig into your public water system. A couple of points. You've probably heard of PFAS, or perfluorinated compounds. They're toxic and present in a lot of water systems, not just in North Carolina, but nationwide. They're produced by industrial sources like Chemours or 3M. PFAS are not yet regulated by the EPA. The agency has issued some proposed rules, but they're not finalized yet. That's why you don't see PFAS in any of these water system reports. However, there is data on PFAS in North Carolina's drinking water supplies, and I'll show you in a future tutorial how to make sense of that information. If you have questions for regulators, this is where to find the contact person for the public water supply section. And this is where to find me. If you have questions or feedback, you can reach me at lsorg@ncnewsline.com. I'm also on Facebook, Threads, Twitter, and Instagram. I hope this brief video has helped you understand where to find the information and how to decipher it once you get it. Until next time, thanks for watching and keep reading.